All right, everyone, welcome to the webinar, How to Get Hot Leads with LinkedIn. As I said earlier, this is going to be a 1-hour version of what is normally a 2-hour paid webinar, since I'm doing it for free today. And I'm going to give you a lot of things that you can use for LinkedIn. If you've been on the LinkedIn Selling System page, that review video, someone who had bought the system when I first offered it during the last week of March, just under 3 months ago, sent in that video review, and he talks about I don't know if you mentioned it in the video, but he sent in a written review separately that talks about how the profile optimization tips alone have increased his contacts and his requests for appointments. I believe it was 7-fold in only a 1-week period or something like that. And I'm going to give you those today. So even if you don't plan to attend a paid webinar, or if you're not going to buy the LinkedIn selling system, for whatever reason, pay attention today. Go through the replay and the PDF when I send it out to you, because this is really important stuff, and you can get the same results from what I'm going to talk about today, just with those profile optimization tips. So why use LinkedIn? I'm talking fast here because, like I said, we're pressed for time. And if you remember, if you watch the video of the LinkedIn Selling System members area tour, I mentioned that I had a cold on that, and I'm still getting over that a little bit in case I sound nasally and stuffy. I apologize for that, but the show must go on. So why use LinkedIn? It is the largest sales network anywhere. It is the largest business social network. I would venture to say it is the largest business network, period. I'm a member here of the Rotary Club of Dallas, which is the largest of the 67 Rotary clubs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It feels huge with 200 members. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of a percent of what's on LinkedIn. My good friend Jeffrey Gitomer likes to say social media is a new cold call. I wouldn't go that far, because a cold call is a cold call. And I'm going to show you later how not to be seen as a spammer on LinkedIn, because there's a right and a wrong way to use LinkedIn. But I would say LinkedIn is the ultimate in business social media. And I take it a step further, because I've talked a lot of smack about social media and how social media is a waste of time, and the only people making money with it are the ones who are selling you social media products. There is some truth to that. And I always counter that by saying LinkedIn is not a social media website. It is a business networking website. And as far as I'm concerned, that is a big, big difference. All right, so what's your LinkedIn end game? Here's why salespeople fail at networking. They don't have a solid goal going in. So you've got to ask yourself, what is your end game? And here's how you figure that out. What you've got to figure out in advance are the kinds of people who can best help you achieve your goals. And you do that by reverse engineering. And you want to reverse engineer your networking online and offline, because some of the basic networking principles I'm going to teach you today, you can go to a meetup group or a Rotary Club or something like that, a chamber mixer, and you can use some of these techniques. I'm going to show you how to apply it to LinkedIn. But it's all about figuring out who your target prospect is first, and I'll show you how to define that person, and then use that data and that picture that you painted to go and find those people on LinkedIn. So let's see. Let's go through some profile. I got a little confused there because I was bringing my laptop from home, and actually I watched the webinar as you were seeing it on the laptop and not as a moderator, because there's about, sadly still, there's about a 5-second lag time between when I forward the slide and when you see it, and so I get a little confused looking back and forth. But here's the bottom line with LinkedIn profiles, and I'm going to show you how everybody does it wrong and how to do it right. Now, you want to start with your headline. That's a no-brainer, but you need to forget about job titles. People put down account executive, sales rep, VP of sales, sales director, independent business owner, something like that, realtor, insurance agent. Forget about that stuff. What you want to do is take advantage of the fact that LinkedIn gives you the ability to enter a huge amount of content. And I mean a huge amount of content that will get you found. You want to include multiple problem-solving ideas for job titles. You want to max out the space they give you. And you want to include your city or your territory. And in fact, there's a right and a wrong way to do that. So I'm going to do here, and this is a little bit outdated. This is since I last tweaked this webinar. I think I changed my LinkedIn profile a little bit. So if you look at my headline there, it used to say New York Times bestselling author. Well, guess what? Nobody goes to LinkedIn and says, I need to find a New York Times bestselling author. Oh, I take that back. People do that, and those are people who they want to write a book and become a best-selling author and not work, and they have absolutely no information to share and nothing to contribute to the world. So they're basically people who get on LinkedIn and want to waste authors' times by asking us questions like that. So what I did, I changed my headline from best-selling author. Of course, when I was, well, LinkedIn didn't exist yet when I quit sales in 2003, but that's another story. But I changed it to say Dallas sales trainer first, then keynote speaker second, lead generation third, business marketing fourth, search engine optimization pro fifth. The reason I did that, first you start with your city. Now, the reason is because LinkedIn carries what we in the search engine business carries a lot of Google juice. So your LinkedIn profile is going to show up in Google search results, but what keywords, what search phrases it ranks for will very much depend on what you put in that headline. And by putting your local city as the very first word, it's going to show up for searches for local providers. So if someone's searching for a sales trainer in Dallas, if I just put sales trainer, it would still rank, but it would be quite lower, maybe not even page one. By putting in Dallas sales trainer, what it does is it gets it to show up. So if you sell Keyman Life Insurance in St. Paul, Minnesota, you want to start with St. Paul Key Life Insurance agent. Or Keyman Insurance, I should say, not Key Life, Keyman Life Insurance. People who are in the insurance business know what I'm talking about. Everybody else is scratching their heads wondering what that means. So putting your city first is very, very important for that reason. And then what I do in descending order of profitability, descending order of importance, is I put in what it is that I sell. So as people are searching for what it is that I sell, what it is that I do, I put those in descending order of importance because whatever's listed first will have the most Google weight, the second, and so on. So people are looking for sales training a lot more than they're looking for keynote speakers. So I have sales trainer first and then so on down the line. The next thing you'll see there under the headline is it says Dallas-Fort Worth area. It used to just say Dallas, Texas, and that was a mistake because what that does is it limits visibility of my profile primarily on LinkedIn and secondarily on Google to people who are only in the city of Dallas, Dallas city limits, which is only about 2 million people. By changing it to Dallas-Fort Worth area, it increases the audience to over 7 million people. So if you've just got your city in your profile, you want to change that and change it to your metro area. For example, I lived in Southern California for a little while. I lived in Orange County. Living in Orange County, when I did keynote speaking or sales training, 99 times out of 100, it was always in Los Angeles or San Diego, and sometimes I drive up to Bakersfield for companies up there or whatnot. Very little business took place in Orange County. So if you're in Southern California, and that's one of the biggest metros, so I'm sure there's a ton of you on this call, you want to change that to just Southern California because barring any territorial restrictions or you don't want to drive over an hour or whatever the case might be, you're going to get a lot more business that way. On category is kind of ambiguous, not as important as the rest. I used to have online media. When I moved to Dallas, part of the reason for doing that was to spend more time and make more money, quite honestly, going out to companies and doing corporate sales training without having to travel. We had our first daughter almost 3 years ago already and our second one this past November. So for those reasons, I don't travel anymore, save for a 45-minute flight to Houston or Austin or something like that. So I changed it from online media to professional training and coaching because that matches up with the first thing you see in the headline, sales training. Then there's two companies there. It's because I own two businesses. FJR Advisors Inc., of course, is the corporation that owns NeverColdCall.com, and ROI Media is my company that does online marketing for businesses. So that's why you see two companies there. So if you're involved in multiple things, or if you have a day job and then you're in a network marketing company on the side, you probably want to put both of those things in there because it's going to get you more visibility. So I already talked about this. The one thing I would mention is that I maxed out the LinkedIn headline. It's very important to do that. They give you, I forget how many number of characters. I wish it were longer. So make sure you max that out and fill it up with as many things as possible in descending order of importance that people might be searching for. So setting up your profile, after you set up your headline and all that, their interests, you can list websites, groups and associations, list as many as possible. I've got everything I belong to on there, Dallas Business Alliance, Rotary Club of Dallas, Rotary International. I got my hobbies like amateur radio, shooting, NRA member of this, that, and the other thing. So that's all in my groups and associations, and that's important because people want to do business with people I have something in common with, and so a really good example of that, a while back, I had a frivolous lawsuit, which happens when you live in California because the laws encourage that there. And I was torn between 3 lawyers to defend it and just crush this guy and destroy him. And so I'm going through and I couldn't figure out which. So I had my wife look at it. She said, "So this guy does ham radio too. It says he's an amateur radio operator and had his call sign on the website." I said, "That's my guy. That's the only one I have anything personally in common with. We could talk about something other than the case or the law and things that are not interesting to non-lawyers." And so he became my guy. So if you got hobbies, I'm a Great Dane owner. That's kind of a cool thing among other Great Dane owners. So that's on my groups and associations. Same thing with honors and awards. You don't necessarily have to have something earth-shattering. I've got my Google certifications on there, Google Certified Partner Company for ROI Media, Google AdWords and Google Analytics Certified Professional for myself. I've got my New York Times best-selling author on there. It doesn't have to be major stuff like that. A good friend of mine, Tom Beal, who many of you may have known, he's my age. He's in his early 40s, but when he graduated from Marine Corps boot camp, he was the honor cadet in his platoon. That was 18 years ago. Or 18 years old. So that was 23 years ago. But he still has that on his honors and awards, because anyone who's been in the Marines or even in the military at all, for that matter, knows that that's a big deal, and it talks about what kind of a person he is, that he was able to achieve that. So the more you can think of, the better. And like I said, there's two reasons. One, the more information you add, the easier you'll be found both on LinkedIn search and Google search. Number two, because people will connect with you. They will see something in common. When somebody else goes to Tom's profile, who also happens to be a Marine, remember there's no such thing as an ex-Marine, there's a connection there, and they've got a camaraderie that other people don't have. So if you've got that, just think of everything you've done that might connect with other people and put it in your profile. Bear with me here while I drink some water for my dried out mouth from this cold. So your LinkedIn summary, rule number one is pretty simple. Max it out. Rule number two is see rule number one. Max it out some more. Content is king on LinkedIn. You get found in LinkedIn and Google searches by having as much content on your page as you can. This began with your headline. It continues with your summary, but it goes on with other areas. Remember what I said at the beginning, that someone had a 7-fold increase in contacts and appointments within a week just by following these tips. So this is no joke. You want to pay attention to this. Pay attention. Don't sit and take notes, because I'm going to send you the PDF copy of this. I'm going to send you the video so you can replay it. But you want to put this stuff into action right away, because every minute you wait is another minute that you're just leaving money on the table and not putting it in your bank account. So your LinkedIn summary. When you write your summary, you don't want to write in the third person. That's very impersonal. I originally did that on nevercoldcall.com on the About Me page and didn't realize how much it alienated people and kind of made me sound like an elitist snob. So instead of saying Frank Roboskis did this, that, and the other thing, say, hi, my name is Frank. Here's what I can do for you. Here's how I can benefit you. People like people, so come across as human. Again, this rule goes everywhere in LinkedIn. Max out the space given to you. What you want to do is list as many relevant products and services that you can, that your ideal customers want to buy. Because again, as you know, cold calling doesn't work anymore, because when a business owner, a prospect, a consumer prospect, if you're in business to consumer sales, whatever that might be, they don't wait for a salesperson to knock on the door or ring the phone. They go to the internet and they do a Google search. And so putting as many products and services as you can that people are actively buying right now is going to get you found on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn positions, here's a really cool trick. So pay attention closely here. This is a very, very overlooked part of the LinkedIn profile. The reason is because people treat it literally. They say, oh, it's positions. Let me list my positions. And they fill it out like a resume, as we call it here in the US, or a CV, as it's called elsewhere. Remember, content is king. So what you want to do is max out the space given for each position, write in a friendly conversational tone while highlighting your accomplishments. But don't talk about your job accomplishments. Don't talk about what's on your resume. LinkedIn allows you to list multiple positions. Since content is king, take advantage of this. You should ideally fill out 5 positions on your LinkedIn profile. The absolute minimum for an effective LinkedIn profile should be 2 positions. Try to shoot for 3. Use keywords. Think about what your ideal customers are searching for. And here's the trick. When you fill out your positions, don't talk about your previous jobs. Talk about what it is that you could sell today. So a good example of that, Stephanie, who I know who works in Jeffrey Gitomer's office, she's got like 4 or 5 positions on her LinkedIn profile, and each one is a different job she does or a different thing she accomplishes within the Gitomer office. And so she helps customers. She's a customer relationship specialist. She's a Gitomer certified speaker, so that's a different position. She's part of the Gitomer marketing team, so that's another position. So the point is that whatever job you're at, whatever business you own, whatever it is that you sell, put a different product or service category or a different feature benefit, however you want to work that out for what it is that you're selling in each of those positions. And that will go miles further than just filling out your job descriptions or filling it out like a resume. The only exception is if you are using LinkedIn to find a job, that's a little bit different, but even then, rewrite it to talk about your accomplishments, what you contributed to your former employers, and not what your job titles were and what your responsibilities entailed. So contact info and website seems like a no-brainer, but it's not, because LinkedIn has a very important website listing feature that almost no one uses. So go to almost any LinkedIn profile. I bet money that 99% of them, you'll see links that say things like company website. That's a very bad idea. You'll see personal website, company website. The only thing I would use on there by default might be portfolio. If you're a videographer or a model or a photographer, that's different. An actor. But for anybody else, don't use that. What you want to do is you want to hit that drop down and click other, because when you click other, it gives you a blank field like you see there. You can type in whatever you want. So if I had company website, everybody would say, oh, boring corporate website that has a news portal and about us and investor news and all that crap that nobody cares about. But instead, I type never cold call again. A salesperson that comes to my profile will be drawn to the very idea of never cold call again. Someone who's looking for search engine optimization, SEO, they're not going to click on company website, but they're going to see SEO and they're going to click on that. My favorite example is the last one. I know many of you here have my Google Traffic Pump System product. It shows you how to set up Google alerts to find out in real time when someone is posting somewhere on the internet, posting a question about something that you sell or a problem that you can solve, that you can then find that and immediately get a hold of that person to make a sale. So what I did for the link to that website is, instead of putting in company website or just the URL, fasttrafficmachine.com, I put in get free leads from Google. So again, just like never cold call again, a salesperson or a business owner comes to my website, or I'm sorry, to my LinkedIn profile, and they see that anchor text that says get free leads from Google, they're going to want to click on that versus clicking on boring words like company website. And of course, that takes them to a lead capture page. So this goes to show you the power of using links with inviting anchor text and then using that to get people to come through to a website and hopefully take some kind of an action, preferably give you a lead. Multimedia is a big, big part of LinkedIn profiles that people overlook. If you're on your edit view to the right of summary, you see that little blue rectangle with a plus sign. That's where you could add media via all the apps that LinkedIn supports. They support YouTube, SlideShare, and dozens of others. And it's all free. So YouTube is free, of course. SlideShare is free unless you're buying a premium account where you can buy documents and whatnot, which there's no need to do that. You could upload a PowerPoint, or if you're a Mac user like me, we generally use Keynote. It's Mac's equivalent of PowerPoint. And so if you go to my LinkedIn summary, you'll see that I've got a YouTube video, and it's the same video that's on the Never Cold Call homepage. Same video I've used in TV commercials here and there. And then I've also got a SlideShare presentation, which is a PowerPoint talking about why SEO, search engine optimization, it produces a much higher return on investment for online marketing departments than throwing money at Facebook and other social media. And so these are things that are actually selling for me within my LinkedIn profile. It's worth going to Jeffrey Gitomer's LinkedIn profile, because his has about a dozen YouTube videos. Jeffrey is very much a big fan of YouTube, and it works very well for him to sell his books and his training and generally just promote himself. And so that's something I plan to do, is do a lot more YouTube videos, or I should say I've already got dozens of YouTube videos. I just need to copy and paste those links over to LinkedIn so that they're on my LinkedIn profile. So here's the next step in LinkedIn. You maximize your profile. Next thing you want to do is maximize your connections, because the more contacts you have, the more weight you carry on LinkedIn. Let's say you and another person on this webinar today do all these exact steps. Your profiles are equally powerful. You're in the same city. You're competitors. You sell the same products and services. The person who's going to show up higher in LinkedIn search, or for that matter, Google search, is the person with the more contacts. So that's why it's very, very important to have as many LinkedIn contacts as possible. Start with the no-brainer stuff. Use the email feature to auto-invite contacts to all of your email programs. I've got Yahoo and Hotmail accounts that go back well over 10 years. My old Gmail account that I don't use anymore. And then, of course, I've got a new email address that I keep private. But it's just a matter of seconds to go in and auto-invite all of your contacts that are in all those email programs, and that will bring literally thousands of people in. The catch here is you never want to use the default invitation text in LinkedIn. You always customize that. People get the default invitation text. At the very beginning, I mentioned Gitomer's quote that social media is a new cold call, and I said, well, it might have been for a while, but social media has become the new cold call in a negative sense in a lot of ways, and that's because people send out these blast invites to their entire address book, and those are seen as spam, so you don't want to do that. So you want to modify that a little bit. Take a subject line, hey, it's Frank, connect with me on LinkedIn, and then do something similar in the body of the email. Never use any of LinkedIn's default invitation text, because people just delete those as spam. You want to use the colleagues feature to find people who you work with or who have worked at, all of your current and past employers. This is kind of fun for me because there are people who are working at companies like AT&T Lucent, which is now Lucent Alcatel. I worked there, started there over 15 years ago, and it's kind of fun to connect with right out of school rookie sales reps who are 22 years old and just learning the ropes, and then they find out that that's the company where I was working when I figured all this stuff out, and so it's fun to do that. Again, customize the message, make it semi-personal. You can't make it 100% personal unless you're setting them down individually. Do it with schools everywhere you went to school, right back down to middle and elementary school even. I've connected with some very old friends this way online. Include a LinkedIn logo and an invitation to connect in all of your email signatures, all of your websites, all of your blogs. You've undoubtedly seen in the footer of my nevercoldcall.com emails, there is a LinkedIn button right next to the Twitter, Facebook, I forget what else I have there, Google Plus, maybe buttons. And so you want to have that so people can find you. Put it in your email signature. That's a big deal. Change your default email signature to say connect with me on LinkedIn or view my LinkedIn profile for some additional videos or whatever the case might be, whatever you're throwing out there. Put it in your email signature and then add your LinkedIn URL to your business cards. Of course, you want to personalize that. You could do that within the contact section where you fill in your address and phone number and all that. There's a place to optimize your URL because normally it's just a random character string. Make it something easy. And just put that on your business cards, on your letterhead, so people can find it. So here's a foundation of what my LinkedIn strategy is very much about. And it starts with groups. So LinkedIn groups are extremely powerful. And by default, you cannot view full profiles of people who are not in your first degrees of connections. By default, you can't directly contact non-connections unless you use a paid in-mail credit. By the way, most people don't check in-mail anymore because if they're not a connection and they have no other way to connect with you, it's probably someone who wants something from you. So in-mails are becoming less and less effective. Cool thing with groups is you could do all of the above with fellow group members, even if they're not connections. So if there's a high-level prospect you want to meet with, you haven't been able to connect on LinkedIn, you can't get a hold of the person. If you join one of the same LinkedIn groups that person is in, now you have a direct method of communicating with that person. Once you're in groups, you want to start raising your visibility. You want to start participating in group discussions. You want to raise your credibility by giving valuable feedback, valuable information wherever possible. You want to write valuable articles on your blog and post those as well. The nice thing is you can also add your web address when responding to group discussions. So I could sign my name with Frank Romboskis, nevercoldcall.com, and that would drive people to my website to get on my subscriber list or buy a product. You should be doing the same. It's a Never Cold Call Again system. You need to have lead gen websites, lead gen blogs. You could do all that or promote all those sites within LinkedIn groups. Then you can also build relationships prior to going to group live meetings and decide if it's worth it to begin with. So most networking groups who are worth even investigating have LinkedIn groups now. And so you could jump on the LinkedIn groups and before you drive 30 minutes across town and spend $25 on lunch and just to be stalked by 6 different people who are trying to sell you something after that, you can check out the LinkedIn group and see what kind of people are in there and decide if it's worth your time, money, and quite honestly, your frustration with being stalked, which I've written in a recent email. It's one of the reasons I don't go to a whole lot of networking groups anymore, and decide if it's worth going there. So the $1 million question, because unfortunately LinkedIn limits everyone to 50 groups. They do this so that someone like me can't join 10,000 groups and then blast my blog posts out to all of them, because I would love to do that. So they limit people to 50 groups. And so people say, well, how do I allocate that? What's the best way to break out my 50 groups so I get the most leads and the most productivity out of LinkedIn? Well, the answer is pretty simple. First, you want to join industry networking groups. You want to join alumni groups of where you went to school, because one of the big payoffs of school in adult life, of course, is networking and connections. Same thing with places you used to work. Big companies like Lucent or Sprint, where I've worked, actually have alumni groups or alumni clubs. You want to join groups of real organizations you belong to. Rotary Club for me, Dallas Business Alliance, some of the local groups I'm a part of. And to answer the $1 million question of how to break it out, here's how. Join 5 industry-related groups that stay on top of what's going on in your industry, stay on top of trends, everything you need to know to keep ahead of the competition. Join 5 groups on topics you want to learn about. This is especially important for salespeople, especially us younger, newer salespeople, because most salespeople don't know how to talk like a business owner. They don't know how to relate to business owners. So it's important that you join some LinkedIn groups where business owners can be found. So you want to join LinkedIn groups for small business. You want to join LinkedIn groups for CEOs, for executives, for managers, things like that, so that you can learn to speak their lingo and speak their language, so that you sound educated and you sound like you know what you're talking about when you go in to talk with them, and you don't say foolish things that give you away as not educated about how a business really operates. Finally, here's the important one. Join 40 groups where your ideal prospects hang out. Because where your prospects hang out is where your, I should say where your best customers hang out. Let's go back a slide and revisit that. To find the groups where your ideal prospects hang out, identify your best customers, look at the groups that they have, find commonalities, and start joining those groups. So that's going to be the best way to find people who are very, very similar to your customers. And of course, your best customers, because if you've got problem customers, you don't want to define that persona and then get more of those people. The next thing you could do, and that you need to do, is start your own LinkedIn group. So start your own group, whether it's a group to keep customers informed of what's going on with your products and services, whether you start your own networking group, which is a powerful thing to do. I talk about that in my networking webinars. Running your own LinkedIn group gives you the most leverage and control. As always, you want to keep it informational. Your goal is to help people. Your goal is not to start selling to people right away, because that turns people off. What you want to do is invite your best customers first, the ones who love you, and then invite all the rest of your customers. In fact, invite everyone except your problem customers. Next thing you do is invite all of your best prospects, all of the most valuable prospects who would be worth the most dollar amount, the most commissions, the most referrals, however you define a great prospect. And then invite all the rest of your prospects. The purpose of doing this and keeping the group active is your best prospects hear how great you are from your best customers. And at that point, they will just buy from you. You won't need to do anything else really proactively at that point. So when you start a group, you want to post regularly to your group. You want to post valuable content only. Again, no direct selling. People will frown upon that. They will not be active members of your group, and they will not get other people to join your group if all you're doing is slamming them with sales pitches. Best strategy to post to a group is to post to your blog. You should always have a blog, whether it's a WordPress blog that's self-hosted, whether you have a Typepad blog. Those work great. Write articles, write content on your blogs, and then repost those to your groups. And you can also use a Twitter feed. There are some WordPress plugins, and I'm not going to go into the WordPress backend and show you now because we're pretty pressed for time here. But you could post a blog post, have it automatically feed out to Twitter or Hootsuite or something like that, and then that automatically posts out to your social media properties. If you're pressed for time, as most of us are these days, you can designate up to 10 people to be managers or moderators. Great way to do this is team up with a coworker or a referral or networking partner. Once I figured out all the never cold call again strategies, I had more leads I knew what to do with, so I filled up my appointment schedule with the biggest prospects. And then I took the rest of those leads and I gave them out to other sales reps I worked with, and we would split the commissions on those because they got a sale without doing any work, so they were happy to give up half the commission. And then, of course, I got half of that for the purpose of generating the lead in the first place. So you could do something very similar with a LinkedIn group where you team up with someone else, split the duties and responsibilities, and then, of course, split the leads. Constantly post new articles. I already said that. Start new discussions. So it's not just about posting articles, it's about posting thought-provoking questions. If you want to see a master at this, go to Facebook and follow my friend and fellow author Mark Joyner, Joyner. Follow his personal Facebook profile. He does this all the time, and he'll get these discussions going on Facebook with literally hundreds of comments, sometimes thousands, and they'll go on for months because he's a master at posting thought-provoking questions. If you do that in your LinkedIn groups, then you will keep these discussions alive and keep people continually coming back to your group and being reminded that you exist and that you have something that they want to buy. Get on there and actively participate in open discussions, create events, and announce it in the group. Whether you create a free webinar like I'm doing right now, you could post it to your group and use that as a sales tool with your prospects, or a live event. You might do a free seminar. I am preparing the club I use for this stuff is booked about 3 months out. So this fall, I will start doing free half-day and full-day seminars to get people signed up for very high level and quite honestly very expensive coaching I'm going to be offering to business owners here in Dallas. And so live events are very useful. Hopefully you've already used the live event strategy from the Never Cold Call Again system, because it can be done very inexpensively. But the point here is you can use your LinkedIn group to announce webinars and announce live events. And it's a really effective way to do that. Another great thing to do is invite outside experts to write articles for the group. If you want some high visibility, high level outside experts, find a high level networking group. So here in Dallas, like I said, I belong to Dallas Business Alliance. It's a closed group. There are only 20 of us, even though we've agreed to go to 25 members. It's invitation only. Rotary Club of Dallas is very similar. We have just a stunning program schedule. And so you go to groups like these and you meet the speakers that they get, because these higher power groups get high power speakers and say, hey, I want to blog on such and such topic. It could just be local small business challenges or whatever you decide to make your blog about to keep people coming to it, and invite them to write a guest article. And most people will agree because they're happy to help and because they know it will get them exposure as well. The other thing you could do, if you don't have those connections, if you don't have time to go out to these kind of groups to meet people, you can go to a site like ezinearticles.com. These are free repost websites, which means you have copyright ability to create an account, and then I think Ezine Articles lets you copy and paste up to 25 articles per month up to your own blog, and all you have to do is give the author credit for those articles. That's a real easy way to find interesting content to keep your group populated with new content. You want to grow your group. Ask your members to invite their colleagues and their LinkedIn connections. Like I said earlier, having a link to your LinkedIn profile and your business cards and your email signature and all that, you can do the same thing about your LinkedIn group. Put that in your email signature, put it on your letterhead, your business cards. Make people aware of it, because it grows, the group grows, your visibility grows, and it gives prospects a way to get to know you in a sense where you have authority and you're the leader, and the result of that is that they're going to be that much more inclined to buy from you when they do that. So let's talk a little bit about this Google juice thing that I mentioned earlier. LinkedIn carries very, very powerful Google weight. Your profile is going to appear at the top of search results when people search for your name on the internet. And going back to another quote from Gitomer, he says, whether you like it or not, when you leave a prospect's office today in 2014, the prospect types your name into Google search, and they're looking for the good, the bad, and the ugly on you, and they're looking for dirt and complaints, and they're looking for any reason not to buy from you. So you want to do is make sure your LinkedIn profile shows up first, and you want to make sure that profile is very compelling. I showed you a lot of ways to do that, but the next one is LinkedIn recommendations, because LinkedIn recommendations are testimonials. And we all know a testimonial is the most powerful sales tool there is. Hearing proof from someone's peer that what you're selling worked for them and the way you're promising it will work for your prospect. So here's how you get recommendations on LinkedIn. First of all, never use, well, not never. There's a strategy I teach in the LinkedIn selling system. It's called my stealth method for lead gen. It's probably one of the best nuggets, one of the best secrets and strategies that's in the system. And after you go through this procedure, this process, the other person already knows you're going to ask for a recommendation. So in that case, it's okay to use the auto request feature to do that. But if you're just going out and getting recommendations, don't do that. Call people. Maybe send them an email, maybe drop in person, but however you do it, make it personal, make it sincere, and ask your best customers to provide you with LinkedIn recommendations. Now, be prepared to write recommendations yourself and have many customers simply approve them, because people like me, I mean, we're busy and I don't want to add any more time to my schedule. If I have no more work to do, I want to go home and see my family. I don't want to sit here and write testimonials for people. So it's very common for people to say, can you just write something up? And if it looks good, I'll sign off on it. So be prepared to do that. Another thing you could do is utilize the law of reciprocity. Write a recommendation first and then let them respond in kind. So write a kind recommendation, a sincere recommendation about your customer. Send it to their LinkedIn profile for them to review and approve. And then based on the law of reciprocity, there's a very good chance that they'll send one back to you. Status updates. I do this all the time. You've probably seen it. Use status updates to keep your network informed. The thing I do in particular, a minimum of twice a week, is post links to new blog posts, new articles, and so on. if you have specials, if you have promotions, if you have other deals going on, use those to get potential buyers off the fence, prospects who just can't make a decision. If you've got something that might be a compelling reason for them to buy now, this week, this month, post that promotion out on LinkedIn so they get it. You want to post updates to all of your connections, or you can post updates to all of your connections, to all of your groups, or to specific individuals. This is useful in what I just talked about. You could segment out your customers from your prospects. So if somebody just bought yesterday and a promotion started today, you don't want to anger that customer and have them saying, what is this? I want to get that promotion too, so give me part of my money back. So you could segment that out. Typically, I'll post to my connections, all of my connections, as much as possible. And I will post to groups 1 to 2 days a week. I don't post to the groups too much because I don't want to annoy the moderators and get banned. You have to be careful about that. But posting your articles to groups is very, very useful. I mentioned this earlier. There's an events feature on LinkedIn. Facebook has a similar events feature. I've kind of hinted a few times here and there. I think the last time I did this webinar last month that we're wrapping up a Facebook selling system that will be available late summer sometime. And one of the commonalities between LinkedIn and Facebook is they both have an events feature. So you can schedule a free webinar. Go to webinar.com or a similar service and sign up for their 7-day or 30-day free trial, whatever it is. Schedule a webinar. You could even schedule a networking mixer. So if you're going to have people at your office, or you're going to have an event at a Reuben restaurant or something, and you can use your LinkedIn events feature to promote that to your connections and announce it to the world. And then to make this kind of go viral and to maximize attendance at your events or your webinars, encourage the people who RSVP to share the event with their connections. Now, the downside is I'm pretty sure that if someone RSVPs to an event, unless LinkedIn change a policy, they can only share it with 50 other connections. But if each person who's coming tells 50 other people to come, then you're going to be in pretty good shape as far as attendance goes, even if each of them only gets one other person to come. So how do we find people on LinkedIn? How do we find our target customers? You want to find who your target customer is, or your target person in general, whether you're looking for someone to sell to, you're checking out competitors, you're looking for a prospective new employer. You want to define who it is that you're searching for. So for the example here, I picked Phoenix by random because I lived there for a while. Let's say you're looking for people who work in advertising sales and they live in, or they're located in Phoenix. So the format, as you see in the bottom of the slide, there is site:linkedin.com. That's the site selection tool within Google search. Put the job title in quotation marks and then put the city without the quotation marks. So here's a real example of typing that into Google search, and this is what comes up. And you can see that I clicked on that first link because it's in purple there, and it is LinkedIn area profiles, Phoenix, Arizona area profiles on LinkedIn for people who are in advertising sales. And then going to that search result, I snapped a screenshot here for the slide to show you who comes up. So there's a pre-sales engineer at a Fetchback Ad Services. Here's an independent management consulting professional. So there's someone who doesn't work in advertising sales, but someone who optimized their profile clearly to show up for those searches because there's some value for that. General manager for Living Social Office at Phoenix, third from the bottom there. Now, one of the interesting things, if you look at everyone on this page, I can see their profiles because they're in my network somehow. You will be able to see first, second, third level connections. You can also see people who are in groups, even though they're not connected with you. So if you look at the third person down, Carrie Richards, here's someone who is not one of my connections, but we're in one of the same groups together. In fact, it says they were in 2 shared groups. And so this is another advantage of groups. When you're searching for people, you get more reach. You get more search results by searching for people, or when you're searching for people, you see people who are in the same groups that you're in, as well as your different levels of connection. So very, very powerful, very compelling reason to max out your 50 groups and make sure that you're joining the same groups as the prospects that you want to find. So we found people who meet our search criteria. How do we leverage those search results? So first of all, you want to join their groups within limitations, of course. LinkedIn gives you 50 groups, probably about once a month or so. I will exit a group to join a new one. The reason being what I just talked about. Some groups are more productive than others. If you've been in a group, you've got no business out of it, the group's dead, nobody's maintaining it and keeping it alive, then kick it out of your groups and go join a new one. No reason to waste time in dead groups and have them taking up dead real estate in your LinkedIn web space. You can connect directly with personal messages. This works a lot better when they are in your network or you're in a mutual group. Like I said, in-mails are increasingly seen as spam because people use in-mails when they don't have a connection. They don't have a reason to connect with the person. It's usually someone trying to sell them something or trying to get free advice, and good prospects get tired of that pretty quickly. You want to look at their connections are and mine them for leads or referral sources. So that's a no-brainer. If you go to someone's profile and look at who their connections are going to be their peers, are going to be people like them. So if your ideal customer, let's say you're a real estate agent, your ideal customer is a wealthy individual who's recently married or recently divorced or had some big life event. They had their first child, something like that. This is a person who's probably, or at least has a higher likelihood of moving or buying a new house sometime in the future. And so if you go to that person's profile, guess who their peers and their friends or connections are going to be? They're going to be other wealthy people in that same age group for the most part. Most of my connections, my personal connections, are people who are also authors or speakers or information marketers like I am. Same thing with anybody else you look at on LinkedIn. You're going to find a very close parallel between who they are and who their connections are. Even connect with your competitors, and people scratch their head and say, why? Let me give you a real example of this. When I worked at Lucent, when it was still called that in the 90s, AT&T Lucent, we were the highest cost provider for phone systems. So it was pretty common for someone to respond to one of my flyers or one of the other techniques I used and say, hey, I got your flyer or your direct mail piece, and I want to take advantage of your offer. We're offering a new insurance office. Can you come out and give us a quote on a phone system? And I say, say things like, well, is it a new building that we have to wire, or are you moving into an existing building? I said, no, it's a new building, so we need wiring. Well, what do you need? How many lines? How many people do you need voicemail? We're going to have 4 phone lines, 8 people, and we need voicemail on each. I say, well, with the wiring and all that, you're probably looking at it upwards of $10,000. And of course, they faint and say, we're just a small State Farm office. We don't want to spend $10,000 on a phone system. I say, well, look, I'm good friends with Joe at Samsung here in town. He can give you what you want for about half that price, $5,000. He's a great guy. He'll follow through on what he promises. They're a good company. They make good equipment. So let me make that introduction now. And so I'd send Joe the lead, and we'd split the commission 50-50 because I just handed him a sale on a silver platter. He didn't have to do anything for it, and so we each got half the commission for the roles we played, and vice versa. Somebody might go to the Samsung rep or call the Samsung office, and they want some very advanced voice response IVR call center stuff that we did at Lucent that Samsung was not capable of fulfilling, and so they would refer a lead to us, and we would do a commission split. And so you really want to know who your competitors are, befriend your competitors, get to know them. You could talk shop. You can learn new things about your industry, about what's going on. There are a lot of advantages for you to be doing that. Other sales authors are technically my competitors, but many are friends and we help each other out. I've already mentioned I'm friends with Gittimer. Tony Parinello, who wrote the book Selling to Vito, which stands for VITO, very important top officer. I think it was within, let me think about this. I started nevercoldcall.com in 2003, and I think it was January of 2004. He had me on his internet radio show as a guest. So we all help each other out. We all promote for each other. And you and your competitors can do the same. So let's talk a little more specifically about finding new prospects. So start with the end game. Who are your ideal prospects? Think about that. Who are the prospects that you are looking for when you're prospecting, when you're doing your prospecting game plan? Of course, I can't say when you're out cold calling because you shouldn't be doing that. Think about who your best customers are and who your worst customers are. Think about who the dream customers are, who were no hassle, they were easy to close, they don't bother you, they refer you business. Then define the customers who wanted to drive a sharp bargain, they wanted discounts, they were a hassle after the sale, they made your life miserable. And you could take all this information and kind of do the Ben Franklin thing on a piece of paper. Sadly enough, you were probably all taught the Ben Franklin close, which you should never use, but at least you know what the technique is. And use all this information to paint a picture of your target before you start prospecting. Then you can use LinkedIn alerts to set up alerts to find ideal prospects or referral partners literally on autopilot. So you want to run a search on your ideal target person. You could use the advanced search feature on LinkedIn, self-explanatory. I'm not going to go into it now. And then on the top right corner of your screen, there's a place to save the search and then specify how often you would like to receive automated emails when new members who meet your criteria join LinkedIn. So why do this? You've defined who your target prospect or your best prospect is. Once you've got that person defined, as soon as someone who meets that definition joins at LinkedIn, you can literally go to their LinkedIn page, send them a message, and say, hey, I just happened to come across you on LinkedIn. Welcome. Let me know. I've been a LinkedIn user for many years. I know it very well. Blah blah blah. I've been through some LinkedIn training, which you can honestly say you have because you're doing it right now. And befriend the person, and that's a great way to get in the door with a new prospect. And so, in my stealth method, which is really I'm not going to say it's the heart or the core of the LinkedIn selling system. It's the core of my paid webinars because that's where I go into it in detail. It's also in the LinkedIn selling system material. It's one of many, lead magnet sort of strategies you might want to call it that bring people into you. But step one of the stealth method is you've got to define your perfect customer. Like I say, you do that. Let's backtrack a slide here. You do that by starting with endgame. And I said in the very beginning of this presentation, salespeople fail at networking because they don't go in with an endgame. They don't reverse engineer their prospects, figure out who the best prospects are, figure out who they want to work with, and then reverse engineer that definition to break down who you're going to find and who you're going to target on LinkedIn. So again, who are your ideal prospects? Who are your best customers? Who are your worst customers? Paint that picture, and then use that to start with the stealth method. Narrow it down by niches and industries. So here's a very good example. In the online marketing business, something I've been involved with since, I started speaking in online marketing seminars in 2006. I started freelancing for kind of high-profile people in 2008. Then I formally started ROI Media as a company in 2010. Dentists in general, just general dentists who do x-rays and fix cavities, they're not always the best prospects. No offense to those of you who are on the call, because they don't spend a ton of money on advertising. Cosmetic dentists, on the other hand, spend an absolute fortune on advertising. You've probably seen their direct mail, their billboards, their TV commercials, their ads in local magazines. And so by drilling it down, that's a much higher level prospect for us selling online marketing services than a general dentist. So the more specific you can get, the better within the stealth method. The next thing you want to do is start searching for relevant groups. You go to groups and then the group directory. Then once you're in there, you type in your target keyword. So in this case, cosmetic dentists. We clicked on all LinkedIn members because we want to find everyone. You can just make it your connections, but that would exclude a lot of people. Click open groups. And part of the stealth method here is getting into LinkedIn groups and then using a very, very slick, very under the radar strategy that I teach to get those people to just buy from you and then give you a testimonial on top of it that you could post on LinkedIn. So we do open groups. We don't close groups. And I clicked English here because I speak English. If you're bilingual, if you're going after the Spanish-speaking market or whatever part of the world you're in that the primary language is spoken, you want to click the relevant one. Then by doing that, it brings up an open LinkedIn group. So here's an open LinkedIn group called Dental Practice Management. Let's see, 866 members, 29 active discussions this month. That's about one a day. That's pretty good. Then we go in. Once you go in the group, you could click on more and then group statistics. So 866 members, and my PowerPoint designer here kind of made this little artsy-fartsy. It's hard to read. So if you look under that 866, there's a bar graph that says seniority, and those top two say senior and owner. So the vast majority of the people in this group are owners or senior managers of cosmetic dental practices, I should say. And stealth method number 3 is start participating in your groups. You don't want to sell right away or your post might be marked as spam, or worse, you'll be banned from the group. Work the group like any other, participate, start discussions, answer questions. Remember to give value whenever possible. There's no selling yet. In step 4, and I'm starting to talk fast here because we're running out of time. Step 4, you must have established high value and high trust with your group. You want to determine an irresistible offer, something that those who trust and respect, whose trust and respect you've earned will jump at. You want to, here's an example I have, and of course I lost my track of thought because I'm talking so fast. In the phone business, what I did was a free consultation to find lost calls and lost revenue in a business. In our internet business, what we did was a Google AdWords review or a new Google AdWords campaign for free. And so this goes through all of those examples of that. And this kind of goes on to talk about the rest of what's in that paid webinar. So what I'm going to talk about today, webinar special offer I'm doing today only, now that we've got, we're down to the wire, 3 days left in the LinkedIn selling system launch. See, I got about 8 minutes here before GoToWebinar is going to cut me off. So the LinkedIn selling system, as you know, it's available this week. It was open for a week in March. I offered it to 1,000 people. 1,000 people bought it. We closed it down. And it's gotten the most rave reviews, the most fantastic reviews, the most positive feedback of any product I've ever sold. To be quite honest, it's probably even better than the Never Cold Call Again system. In fact, I know it is because it focuses on LinkedIn, so you could sit, never leave your computer, and do all of the stuff that's in the LinkedIn system. You've seen the review video on the product sales page. That's just one example of just tons of positive feedback that have come in. And the primary person who handles the help desk at nevercoldcall.com/helpdesk, pretty much on a daily basis, she says, I got another person who's very upset that you close out the LinkedIn selling system before they had a chance to buy it. And I'm just kind of like, well, that was what the deal was. It was this 1,000 people, then we close it down, and that's how it worked. So what we're doing this time is we're keeping it open for a week. It closes on Monday. What I'm doing today for the webinar participants only, as a thank you for being here today, you've seen just probably 5% of the knowledge that's in the LinkedIn selling system today. I forget how many hours of video content, PDF downloads, ebooks. There's so much content in there. It's absurd. We threw in some extra courses. We threw in one called Facebook Marketing Made Easy. We threw one in called LinkedIn for Business, which brings me to a point. Someone emailed me right before this webinar. I got a chance to email him back. His question was about multiple pages, multiple things like that. And the answer was that, and pay attention, because I don't know if this is in the original replay or not. With LinkedIn, what you could do, you have one LinkedIn profile, of course. You can't have multiple profiles under your name. But you can have multiple LinkedIn business pages under one LinkedIn account. And what makes it really good is you can keep your LinkedIn company pages anonymous. So like I say, a lot of people want to use the Never Cold Call system, have their own lead gen blog, their own lead gen site, but their employer forbids that. Nice thing about LinkedIn is you can have a company page or a business page that's about the topic that's going to attract people who are interested in what you're selling, but you can keep ownership anonymous. It's the same thing if you have a day job and then you're part of a network marketing company on the side or something of that nature. You can have a LinkedIn company page for that, and the ownership can be absolutely anonymous. So you can have as many company pages as you want. You can have open ownership so people could see it's you. You can have it anonymous. So anyway, I backtrack there, but the point was one of the bonuses we threw in was I had an outside expert contribute a course. I actually bought the rights from him to include it in my course called LinkedIn for Business, and it is just about an entire course just about how to use LinkedIn company pages. It's especially important if you're a business owner or an independent professional, like a real estate agent or a life insurance agent, accountant. But if you're a salesperson, it's equally important because you can use LinkedIn company pages as your own mini lead generation pages, your own lead gen magnets. And so what I'm doing today is on top of the LinkedIn selling system, nobody else is getting this, by the way, is only available to webinar attendees. You're going to get a replay recording of the full 2-hour paid webinar, Get Hot Leads with LinkedIn Part 1, which has that stealth method in it that I skipped over because I didn't want to give that away today. You also get the full replay recording and PDF of Get Hot Leads with LinkedIn Part 2, which is the follow-up to that webinar. These are 2 hours each. This is another 4 hours of unbelievably impactful content that you're going to get. LinkedIn Selling System also includes LinkedIn Marketing Made Easy course, the LinkedIn for Business course I just talked about. I got an ebook. I bought the rights to an ebook that someone wrote called 50 Tips to Get More Clients with LinkedIn. So this is a PDF ebook you can download if you do nothing else. If you don't have the time today, this week, next month to go through the LinkedIn selling system, go ahead and buy it while you still can so that you at least have it. But you could download this PDF, and there are 50 very specific actionable items that you could take to start generating leads today and closing sales with LinkedIn. Like I said, the Facebook Marketing Made Easy course, we added that. We took the LinkedIn marketing, was really more the LinkedIn business course of how to use LinkedIn company pages, and we applied that to Facebook business pages. And so I'll show you how to do that in the Facebook Marketing Made Easy course. You get those 2 webinar replays, which are a $58 value. You get all of that today only for only $97. Next week, everybody who buys the LinkedIn selling system this week will get access to the new LinkedIn forum. So it's a discussion forum, so you can discuss, you can connect with, you can trade ideas, bounce ideas off each other with other LinkedIn Selling System customers. This is exclusively for LinkedIn Selling System customers. So people who have the Never Cold Call Again system don't get access to this, of course, unless, of course, they buy the LinkedIn system. We'll give you access to that next week after that closes. And here's a link where you can get that. So bear with me here while I copy and paste this into the box. Make that easier for you to click on. That didn't work. Probably should have done this earlier, huh? So I could copy and paste it. All right, so there's a link in the chat box on your GoToWebinar client, so you could see that. You could just click on that link and go right to the page. In fact, I'll do that now, make sure I put the right URL in there and that it comes up. And my internet is very slow because GoToWebinar is destroying it. And yes, I put the right page in. So go ahead and click on that link, go to that page. That will take you to the checkout page where you can get the both webinar replays, which sell for $29 each now, so that's a $58 value. You can get all of that. You get the full LinkedIn selling system, LinkedIn Marketing Made Easy course, Facebook Marketing Made Easy course, LinkedIn Marketing for Business, which is specifically about how to use company pages as lead generation tools. You get the PDF that, like I said, you can download today and take 50 specific actionable items, put them into use, and start generating leads with LinkedIn, even if you don't have the time today, this week, this month, next month to go through the full LinkedIn selling system. Go ahead and get that ebook. So go ahead and do that. Go click on that link, get the system now, get on board with the LinkedIn selling system, and hopefully it's going to be you contributing one of those videos that I post on the website about people who absolutely exploded their sales, literally blew their sales up big time just by putting into action everything in the LinkedIn selling system. So go ahead and do that. I will stay on top of things. Like I said in one of my emails, this has been a very crazy week with the sales volume we've had. It was higher than anticipated, and so we're staying on top of things very closely. LinkedIn Selling System closes on Monday, so you got 3 days left to get it, and of course you've got today to jump on and get this webinar special and get all these extra downloads and content that I talked about. So I'm about to get cut off by GoToWebinar, so I'm going to say thank you for being here today. I will stop recording so I can get this out to everyone today, and I look forward to chatting with you in the LinkedIn Selling System forums next week. Thanks a lot and have a great weekend.